and welcome back to Football Made Simple. 19 games into the season and Diego Simeone's Atletico Madrid sit top of La Liga on 50 points, 10 points clear of their biggest rivals Barcelona and Real Madrid, and with a game in hand to boot. And they have been formidable this season, not just on the defensive end of things, where, as expected, they have conceded the least goals in the league, but they've also been one of the outstanding attacks in Spain, with the second most goals with 40. This is actually the highest goals per game in La Liga, due to their game in hand. But what are some of the tactical elements Simeone has used to achieve this? In this video we take a look. One of the biggest foundations to a solid season is a good transfer window, which Atleti had. Yannick Carrasco was a key element in the latter half of 2020, and Atleti did well to make this a permanent transfer. Luca Torreira was also brought in on loan, but has been used sparingly. But of course, the standout transfer was Luis Suarez on a free, from a major rival. Their outgoing activity was also interesting, recently ending Diego Costa's contract, but prior to that, loaned out Morata as they backed Luis Suarez coming in. In addition, Partey departed, and he was a key element last season. However, central midfield was one of the few areas Atleti could afford to let a starter go and still be relatively okay. And these comings and goings have had some impact on the Atleti team. Simeone's most commonly used formation is still the 4-4-2, using it in 12 league games. But there is a caveat to this, as he has used variations of the back three more often, and while technically they may be classified as different formations, there is so much overlap that the 3-5-2/3-4-2-1 could be considered his most used formations this season, which is a change from last season's 4-4-2. Now, let's start with the build-up play. One striking difference this season is that Atleti have moved to a more possession-oriented style of play. And while they can still go long directly to the forwards when required, they have maintained a similar number of long balls per game whilst having more possession, meaning their percentage of long balls has decreased. One factor is that Suarez is still good in the air, but he's not a target man and instead prefers the ball played into feet, so it makes sense to try and build up shorter and into him. When playing in a 4-4-2, their shape is dependent on the opponent's behaviour. When opponents look to close down Atleti, usually committing 2 forwards to deal with each centre-back, Atleti will go long at times, if significant space opens up behind the backline. But more commonly, they shift into a back three, with a defensive midfielder dropping in, whilst the remaining man becomes a single pivot. This is because at times, Saul, Lemar, or Marcos Llorente start in wider positions, and all of these three are comfortable moving into the centre of the pitch to help cause an overload against the opposition's remaining midfielders. This, at the same time, will open up space down the flanks for the fullbacks to move into. Under less pressure, the central midfielders look to combine in deeper areas. They often stagger with one man dropping deep and the other pushing higher. If an opposition man is dragged to the deeper Atleti man, it potentially opens up a gap between the lines which can be filled, whether by Felix moving in if he starts on the left, or dropping deep if he starts up front, whilst Llorente can look to do the same at times, or even the second pivot. In the back three, the role of the fullbacks is much more pronounced, as they move high and wide much earlier due to their extra centre-back. And Trippier initially, and Carrasco coming in place of Lerdi on the left-hand side, have been vital to Atleti, providing the width even in early phases. Hermoso has a lot of responsibility in the build-up, whether that is providing penetrative passes up the pitch, or even carrying the ball into the midfield to draw markers. And the makeup of their personnel has them perfectly positioned to take advantage of both the central and wide regions. When using the wide regions, they can easily create overloads, particularly down the left, with Carrasco positioned like a left midfielder and the left centre-back looking to draw the opposition midfielder out of position. Felix often plays on the left of the front too, although he has positional freedom popping up around the pitch. But he can look to move high to pin back the fullback, or if the centre-back is dragged wide, open up a more central passing channel. A remaining central midfielder, often Koke, can also shift to provide the centre-back with yet another option down the left. Atleti can then look to combine with quick passes and runs, often looking to find Felix in particular, who has enjoyed having more support higher up the pitch this season, rather than being isolated on the transition. So, when he gets on the ball, he can drive infield to subsequently look for a pass into someone better positioned or for the shot. And we have seen Felix's output increase, with 10 goal contributions so far this season. But if the fullback is drawn towards Felix, Carrasco's attacking instinct from left wing back is crucial, having all the traits of a traditional winger, which means taking on a man or whipping in a high quality cross into the box. But, of course, this shape often drags the opposition across, meaning that a switch to the high right back will be on, from where Atleti can look to attack the back post in the box to get on the end of a cross. And we see the fullback's creativity being high up on the list for assists as well as expected assists per 90. When attacking down the centre, again we see Atleti willing to push one midfielder much higher, meaning that at times their offensive shape resembles a 3-1-6. With the wingbacks providing the width, this then allows the central four fluidity, whether it's putting men in the half spaces so they can take advantage of any central spaces that are created, or using consistent rotations with men dropping short to pick up the ball and then potentially playing runners ahead of them. Marcos Llorente, in particular, has thrived playing in and around the box, with over 10 goal contributions already. And Suarez has been on form as well, far outperforming his expected goals with constant clinical finishing. And Atleti are as solid as ever when defending. This is because they usually aren't too concerned with pressing high, and only 7 teams press with less intensity than they do. Instead, they work like animals to get back into a low to mid block shape, whether that's a 4-4-2 or the 3-5-2 compacting into a 5-3-2. This is also a big factor in Atleti outperforming their expected goals against, which they have done so far. Having more players deep means that there's a greater likelihood of a block or a deflection wide of the target. So although a shot conceded may be from a good area, the forest of defenders will likely get the block in. This is then backed up by one of the world's finest between the posts, Jan Oblak, who is capable of making seemingly impossible saves look incredibly routine. This iteration of Atleti are different from what one thinks of when imagining a Simeone side. 10 points ahead, with a game in hand, it's hard to see anyone else winning it, meaning that through trademark hard work injected with a bit of flair, Simeone may soon win his second La Liga. But what do you make of this Simeone side? Drop it down in the comments below with a football next to your comment. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did and want even more content, consider checking out my Patreon. There you'll get early access to videos, exclusive videos and podcasts, as well as so much more, whilst helping to support the channel. Just head on over to patreon.com/footballmadesimple. But that's all for today, and remember, keep it simple.